The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, now we are at the battle of Khandaq. This is called also the battle of the Ahzab. Concentrate with me, Muslims. So 10,000 plus all of the inhabitants of the Arab Peninsula came in one army to eradicate the little city of Medina, to destroy Islam and finish this mess. So the Muslims thought what to do. So they decided, we will dig a trench around the city so that the army cannot cross into the city. And they had a few days to do this in. So the Muslims got busy and started to dig. Now understand, this was 14.5 centuries ago. Tools and equipments are not as advanced as today, and it's sandy, rocky desert, and the heat is scorching, and the Muslims are digging this huge trench. Like big enough so that a horse cannot jump over, and deep enough that it can't ride into and out of. And the ashab are digging day in, day out. Some of them say, for 3 days we had very little or no food. And it is difficult times, there isn't much food. So out of hunger, and to beat the pain of hunger, they started to get rocks and tie it on their stomachs to kind of squeeze the tummy so that they don't feel hungry and the stomach doesn't feel empty. And as they're digging, they came to a huge rock inside the path of the trench. And they have to move the rock or break the rock, but no one can do it. So they called the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ya Rasulullah, this rock is stopping the progress, come look at it. So Jabir radiyallahu anhu says, because the Prophet came and I saw him walking like with weakness and tired and fatigued and hungry. And when he came, I saw that we had one rock on our tummies, he had tied 3 on his. And this is the Rasul of Allah. Like he's hungry and he's tired and he's weak. And at this stage, he is 56 or so years old. So Jabir radiyallahu anhu saw the state of the Prophet and it hurt him a lot. So he came to the Rasul and he said, Ya Rasulullah, give me permission to go home. So the Prophet said, granted, go. So Jabir radiyallahu anhu went home to his wife. And he said, listen, I have just seen the Prophet in a way that my eyes cannot see him. Like I can't see him like that. Do we have anything at home to cook and prepare for him? So the wife said, we have a bit of barley that I can crush and make flour out of and make bread with. And we have that little goat or that little sheep. So Jabir radiallahu anhu says, okay, you fix the bread, I'll get the meat ready, as in I'll sacrifice the goat and we'll cook it and I'll go invite the Prophet. Now in those days there was no rice and stuff in Arabia. You got that from the Persians later on. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is there in the trench digging, and Jabir radiallahu anhu prepares this little food. And understand it's a small sheep or lamb or goat, which was probably sufficient for 5 or 6 people, so they would just eat the meat. There was nothing else to go with it. So the wife tells him, says, go invite the Prophet, but tell him quietly, so that other people don't hear and don't feel bad that they're missing out on food. So Jabir radiallahu anhu came quietly to the trench and next to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he whispers in his ear, says, Ya Rasulullah, my wife and myself have prepared some food for you. So come with a handful of the ashab, your companions, to our house. So the Prophet ﷺ, hearing this, stood up and he said, Ya Ahla Khandaq, O people of the trench. And in one qawl, there is 3,000 men on the trench. As in 1,500 fully grown men, 1,400 youngsters, like children and so on, helping out. So the Prophet stands up, he goes, O people of the trench, as in the 1,500 or 3,000 people, we are invited to the house of Jabir. And Jabir radiallahu anhu says, he goes, no one knew the shame that I was feeling except for Allah. Like imagine, you've got one sheep, and 3,000 people have come behind the door, you're going to feed the first 5, and the rest are going to go like, what? So, and these are Arabs, hospitality is a big thing for them, like, it is embarrassing someone comes to the house for food and you haven't been able to provide. So Jabir is feeling very embarrassed. But the Prophet has asked, so how could he reject? So the Prophet, seeing his anxiety, says, Jabir, tell your wife not to start baking the bread until I come, nor put the meat on the pot until I come. So Jabir picked up his clothes and ran back home. And he tells the wife, wow, calamity. So she says, what happened? He goes, the whole Khandaq is coming. So the wife says, I told you a handful. He says, it wasn't me, it was the Prophet. So she says, did you say it or did he say it? So he said, no, the Prophet said it. So then she goes, what are you worried about? He knows what he's doing. So the Prophet ﷺ came to the house. And what an honor to have the Rasul of Allah at your house. So he comes into the house and he sees the dough and the meat and he prays and blesses it. And then he tells her, start cooking. And he told Jabir, stand by the door and let 10 people in at a time. So Jabir radiallahu anhu is standing by the door and he says, tafaddalu, like come inside. So 10 people would go inside and they would eat and sit with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when they're full, they would come out. So Jabir would say, have you had enough? Like, did you actually get to eat anything? And they go, alhamdulillah, ni'mah, like we were full. So then he goes, okay, 10 more. And Jabir is scared all the way through because, it's going to run out now, it's going to run out now. And he says, the 1,500 men ate and came out. And I came into the house and wallahi, the bread was the same as it was and the meat was the same as it was. Sallu an Nabi.